because he's actually got 15 degrees of angle on the joint coming off the transfer case. I had him rotate the pinion, basically point it right towards the transfer case, and this constant velocity is going to make it work. What we'll do here, this is some stuff that I fabricated here, so we'll actually just put dial indicators on this. We'll dial it up, and tubing quality these days is just terrible. You know, we cannot get good tubing. It's just the seams are high, stuff like that. But we'll dial it up, and then we'll actually weld it. We've got a slower deal here. It'll actually just turn it at weld speed. And again, this is all just kind of stuff I fabricated. This is kind of what would have come with this piece of equipment originally to do that, but we like to drive it all off that end, and this gives us the capability on this one to do it off either end.
So you do drive shafts like on balers and farm equipment at all, or constant velocity, I should say?
Phase 2 right there. Look at the next bench.
Okay. Sorry.
We've got, you know, just a lathe and a mill here. We try not to do any custom machine work. We just try to use it just for our own drive shaft work and what we're doing here. These are a couple shafts here that we're building for a prototype for High Tech. It's the mother company of NDE, of New Direction, out of Canada. They just sent me a print the other day. They wanted a couple of these put together for some new prototype that they're doing. When we get into the agricultural constant velocities, there's two different styles. There's a 50 degree and an 80 degree. The 50 degree is going to have a ball and socket like this. And the center of the housing is going to be open. There's nothing in the center. And they're used more, you know, primarily for augers and that type of stuff. Someplace where it's going to be constant, like the tractor is sitting there, it's at a high angle, and you know there's not going to be movement like you're turning or anything. If you try to put an 80 degree constant velocity in there, it will fail. Because that swash plate, if you look at an 80 degree, you've got the center kit here actually is the pivot point. And the big problem with these is none of these parts are replaceable. If this is wore out, you replace this whole piece. You replace the whole piece back on the tube shaft or solid shaft. And on the center housing of that, it actually has a swash plate in it. That allows that up to 80 degrees of angle, not constant, but the biggest thing is probably just the overextending them snaps those balls off, and usually when it snaps a pin off, typically it cracks this race around there where it's pretty much junk. So this here is one that we're actually just in the process. As you saw, the worn out parts here, we're welding a new tube yoke on it, the socket. And again, you know, if you look at this ball close, you'll see how it's really worn on the one side, and it'll just vibrate like crazy. Any questions on any of this?
That has the 2 speeds too?
Yeah.
Yep, good. That is neat.
And actually the back one is one that I've made. That was the first one that I ever made, and that was out of some boxing machine that came out of Litton Microwave or something.
Wow.
Yeah. While we're here, I'll just show you real quick. Typically we do all of our pressing, welding, all of these too. There's a hydraulic cylinder here where we lock the end down. And this end will actually push out. It's like on this one, we drop a pin in here to lock this base, and then so we like to push. That's how we press everything together before we weld them. And then again, we dial them up once we do that and weld them. As far as the agricultural stuff, there's really no balancing to that. But any of the automotive stuff, we're always going to balance it. This is actually a circle track car, out of a circle track. I haven't done anything with this shaft. This guy just decided to go buy one from Fast Shafts, spend too much money for it. But then they usually come here and we'll actually tweak them a lot of times anyway.
Okay.
At least one thing, you got a grease zerk on that one.
Yeah.
That's the problem nowadays.
Yeah. So, the way we set this up, our balancers, I actually had this balancer designed, these are actually modified crankshaft balancers is what they are. So they spin at 500 RPM. It's just like what they would do on a crankshaft. They don't care if it spins 10,000 RPM. These things are so sensitive. They're the same sensors in these balancers they use for determining earthquakes. So a shaft like this, again, what we would do, and again, this thing, the joints and stuff are bad in it anyway. But we would, once we get it over here, we're going to do a double check on everything. Our tolerances that we typically use on, or the Spicer gives us on the end are 20 thousandths. We usually try to hold them at least half of that. We'd always try to hold the center of the tube to 10 thousandths. You see this one is a little out of spec. But when it actually comes, once we get everything finally straightened in, we can just cycle it. We usually register everything in grams. This we can, right now, say like 18.4 grams at angle, or at 50 minutes on this side, 24 at 43 on the other side. We can go to ounces. Hey Ken, how are you? Good. This is 0.65 ounces or 0.85 ounces. And we can say whether we want to add or remove weight. So like if it was a crankshaft, we'd be, take a drill press or whatever and drill it off. So like this one says 18.4 at angle.
You get pretty perfect. Very perfect.
Like this,
Race car, they gotta be.
Yeah, yeah.
this is the 19 gram weight here. And I'm going to put it right on angle 50. I'm not going to do anything with the other end, although that end is off, but the angles are pretty close to each other. So I think what you're going to see is even though it corrects this end is going to get a little bit better. Turn green here, so we're within spec on this end. I wanted to add another one on that end at angle 42.
So what you're saying is it wasn't right from the factory, or did they mess it up already on the track?
One or the other. I know that joint back there is bad anyway. People have a real tendency these days to buy something at Speedway Motors just because it comes out of Speedway Motors. They think it's good.
Speedway Motors, how can you go wrong?
Well, yeah.
But they have a nice
Oh,
tool.
now they,
Yeah,
yeah.
they got a hell of a museum. But that'd be the basic process of what we're doing here as far as balancing goes. Any two-piece drive shafts are going to always be balanced as an assembly, especially when it comes to a truck shaft, over-the-road truck. We're gonna have that first shaft. We mount the hanger bearing right on here, we spin that shaft by itself, then we couple the other shaft to it, just like putting a wheel and tire together. That's gonna be the way you get the best balance. We'll do a final straighten on that back shaft and, you know, spin them as an assembly. Then when they come out of here, they're gonna have marks on them, arrows, paint marks, so that it always goes back together that way. If you look at any Ford two-piece shaft that can be taken apart, every one of them is gonna say assembly balance. Don't replace this shaft without rebalancing the mating shaft. And that's one of the reasons they have a lot of master splines on these. And it's something, if you ever take one of these apart, this again is that Dodge deal. They've made a little pink mark on it here, but you can't really see that that spline is any different, but there's two blank splines in here, and that's the only way it's gonna go together. And you wouldn't believe how many shops destroy parts, beating on these ends, and then they finally get it together, and it's bound up anyway.
Oh boy.
The other thing, somebody hits this right here. I mean, these tolerances are so tight in there. Rather than hitting here to knock a joint out, they hit it here. Pretty soon it locks up, pushes the hanger bearing out, and you're done. So this balancer, due to floor space restrictions and stuff, and due to the lengths of a lot of these shafts, I had Heinz build this balancer specifically for me. The same way I did with my other balancer. I had one like this, and I actually took the computer off this end and I mounted it on the other end, so we got 4 8-foot bases. When they were here looking at it, it's like, we've never seen anybody do that. Well, now you have. So I told them when we built this balancer, I said, I want a mirror image of this. I want a computer on that end so we can share bases. Because if there's another hanger bearing, we're gonna put that hanger bearing sensor here and we're gonna spin all 3 shafts together. We do a lot of work like for Rosenbauer, the fire trucks. Like when we did the Saudi Arabia with them, 700 and some trucks we did, 5-piece PTO shaft, we would spin every one of those as an assembly. I don't have 5 of these, but that's where all these little fake stanchions are. We would actually just move the sensor from one to another to another to another.
Wow.
Took us 2.5 years to do that, but we got her
Wow.
done.
I believe it. I believe it.
So how many employees you have here?
We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys and myself. Yep.
They're all specific to their position then, or do they move around some? Do they? one
Everybody's
stay-
pretty much got their own work area. You know, typically over here they do more of the light duty stuff, maybe performance light duty. Kyle likes the ag stuff. Jim likes nothing but truck stuff. Clint does primarily truck stuff, and Cody is kind of bounce around wherever he needs. Anybody's gone, that's where I'm at. Got 2 guys gone, I get 2 benches that day. Yeah, plus I'm doing all the inventory, all the parts ordering, and yeah. We've got one welder here that's specific to just aluminum. I put a push-pull system on it, so these leads can be used on that, there, or either the balancers to weld weights on. I just can't afford 3 of the same. Why would you? This just another assembly station here. We do resurface flywheels. Do a lot of them actually. Got a pallet of those over next door I could show
So
you.
who's your biggest customer?
Our biggest customers are like Rosenbauer.
Okay.
You know, we
Trucks.
do Rosenbauer, Spartan. We do all the truck shops, all the dealerships, transmission shops. We've got Driveline shops. Like when the big oil boom in North Dakota, there's a lot of Driveline shops, startups up there because they weren't happy with the work they were getting and the prices they were paying. So there are guys up there that would buy all the equipment, and it's like, oh shoot, You call Spicer, can we buy parts? No, you can't, because there's distributors here. Call Neapco, can we buy parts? No, there's distributors here. So I've tried to kind of fill that void where a Driveline shop in North Dakota we've still got 3 of them, I guess, that we supply them all their parts.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, some of it's just on a drop ship basis where they email me an order, I punch it into the computer, it goes from Spicer directly to them, they send me a check. And stuff.
Wow.
This is just another little press here that we use for different stuff. We do a lot of the disassembly stuff. This is our cleaning equipment here. Again, here you can see this is another one off of a gravel truck, another catastrophic failure where we had universal joints break.
Wow.
These here are actually the remnants of, there's a Peterbilt just got towed in Friday. I got the text message at 6 o'clock Friday morning that this guy was broke down, and he actually apparently doesn't pay much attention, but he drove it until this yoke here fell completely off. So the whole back drive shaft from here to his axle was gone. It was out in the ditch somewhere. I think he might have found some of the pieces, but I always kind of laugh if they don't. I get paid twice, because when the DOT hits it, then we get paid to fix the motor shafts as well.
Wow.
Is that the one by Brookings the other night then?
This one? I don't know where it happened at.
No, but by Coleman exit, somebody lost the drive shaft.
Oh, yeah?
A semi 200-gallon diesel fuel spill.
Oh,
Ooh, wow.
I didn't see that. I know they towed the truck in. I went out and measured the truck because the truck was not a factory truck. It had been stretched. So they knew that we needed to take measurements before we took it apart. I went out and took measurements. All 3 of the shafts were junk. Well, the one we don't even have here. But if you look at them, the bores are bad here where the caps are spinning. So this yoke was bad, this yoke was bad, this yoke was bad. The only thing we could have tried to save was the tubing. So we just built them all new from the transmission to the rear end. And by 4:30 Friday afternoon, we had all the shafts out there, and we should be gone. So.
Wow.
And hopefully happy. So.
Wow.
Still waiting for fuel.
This guy here is my best hired man. Never asked for a raise, does all my dirty work for me. He's a little bit loud, but I actually had this machine specifically designed in the length it is, so we can take these big, long semi shafts, drop them in. We just use a ceramic media. We get like safety clean type solvent. It'll scrub them. The solvent cycles through down into that old diesel tank off an old truck. I can just fire it up here so you can kind of get a. We're just running them on like a 12-minute cycle.
I gotta see inside.
Come on, baby.
What kind of pellets is that?
They're This actually is ceramic abrasive.
Oh,
So
okay.
they have a cutting media in them. There's all kinds of different shapes, designs, the hardness of the ceramic. These are the same machines that you'd use deburring, like if you had a metal fabrication where you're cutting a lot of parts out, you could just throw them in and deburr,
Wow.
polish.
How long do your ceramic pieces last?
We probably have to change it about once a year.
Wow.
This machine holds about 600 pounds. I usually order like 1,000 pounds at a time. We've got another little scrubber down there. Does about the same thing.
So after 12 minutes, that'll be clean.
Mhm.
Wow.
Well, totally degreased,
Wow.
It'll take a lot of the paint scale and stuff off, but like I say, you take something like that top shaft is nice, they're just nasty to work with unless you can get them cleaned up.
Right. Wow.
Lot better for all the guys. So.
Oh, yeah.
It actually is quite a bit quieter when we close the lid too. Why did you hit stop when you're supposed to hit start?
I wish I could clean my house like that. Of course, I blackened my whole house with clean.
The big problem you run into with smaller stuff is logic. Every bolt hole, you get that stuff in there, it's hard to get out. You end up chipping it out, I've got star shaped media, just like three points on it. Media in itself is just a science. We use a medium grit, which is going to break down relatively fast. There's real soft stuff that's just going to cut really fast. It's just kind of like a fingernail file or emery board. Just that's the type of media that it is. You get a real hard media, it's not going to clean as fast, but it's going to polish it. We actually, the last company I worked for, we used to take. You could use aluminum media. You can use rubber media. There were guys, because we actually built master cylinders and stuff. Some guys would take the old pistons out of master cylinders and use those as media.
They were soft, but yet they would do the job, I suppose. I've heard of a tumbler, but they used just leather gloves in there and they would shine it, old leather gloves, and shine it up too, but it
Yeah, well, it's like a lot of the ammunition, isn't it? Just walnut shells and stuff,
Yeah, I think so.
Same basic theory. A lot of stuff here we try to buy in bulk, because some of it is, pretty high volume. That's why I got the bulk shelves here. I've got the whole area upstairs. You see those double doors there? We'll take pallets apart and just pop them up above. If anybody wants to walk upstairs and look quick, we can. You're late. You spent an hour